Okay, Mr. Khatri. Okay, here I have the screen. Has the live started? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again after a week with some amazing chess gameplay rolling around. Today also it is 3:49 here. Let's start with 3 minutes blitz. Okay, let's have some fun, Mr. Khatri. Well, Mr. Khatri has selected 5 minutes game. That's completely fine. I hope I'm very audible to you guys. Here in this game, we have pretty interesting opening position. To be honest, I missed the opening. Well, the knight is continuously attacked there. Knight was attacked by the pawn and counter attacks by queen is what we witness. And the white player sacrificed his rook for that knight and a pawn, but the other knight was also vulnerable there. Probably they missed it, and Khatri is now doing better in this game with 4 points of lead. Easy check. Can we avoid it? Oh no, Mr. Khatri, I don't know why did you do that. Probably Mr. Khatri has some technical issues with his mouse. We can well understand that. Let's forget that and let's move on with our game. Begin with in this game we have d4 to start with and followed by some typical moves here. No takes for now. Probably bishop will be exchanged here. Yes, it will be exchanged to a rook. Sorry, knight. Here we have Mr. Bimal uh, helping us stream today. Hello, Mr. Bimal. Welcome to the stream.
Hi,
Okay, I think. Are you ready to play with Mr. Khatri in the other game?
I am ready. I'll be ready in like 15 minutes.
Okay, just remind me when you are ready. For now, if you want to comment on the position, you can.
No comments.
Okay, we respect that. The position seems fairly equal, but Khatri is in a submissive mode here. Khatri has been constantly retreating his pieces towards the king side. Now we see the castle. Most probably the bishop will be kicked, but the knight has Mr. Khatri is definitely missing some good tactics in this game.
Whoa, shouldn't have resigned.
Yes, that is a really hopeless gameplay by Mr. Khatri. I don't think resignation was the most accurate move there. Now in this position we had e4 to start with, followed by e5, later knight coming out, bishop coming out, everything was fine and going fine currently as well. Khatri anticipates some bishop knight exchange here, but our opponent player doesn't seem interested in this exchange. Now Khatri is ready to develop all of his pieces. The pawn on e4 has been well protected. Now Khatri marches ahead with his knight, attacking the bishop. Most probably we will see the exchange. Yes, we do, and I think the queen will move to d4 here. Yes, it does move to d4. We are experiencing some lag here, but ignoring that, we can focus on the game. Looking at this position, Mr. Khatri's development seem more practical. However, opponent player doesn't have any losing advantage till now. Khatri must capitalize upon his pieces. He must move his dark square bishop as well. It hasn't moved even a single square yet. Meanwhile, the bishop on d3 was threatened. It is now protected by the pawn, but Mr. Black doesn't seem interested in that. What we see here is another exchange perhaps, but Mr. Black is taking a bit of time here. Yes, we see that exchange. Now I think the knight will also be exchanged with bishop. Because the knight is pretty powerful in the central, I think taking it is a good option. Yes, it is. Khatri thinks the same as the folks say. Great minds think alike. Maybe that is a little bit of boasting, but we don't care. Khatri marches his pawn on f2 towards the central square, attacking the pawn on e5. If the pawn takes, the queen will be exchanged, the rook will march ahead. Okay, Mr. Black is taking a long time here. However, Mr. Khatri is still behind in terms of time, more than half a minute behind Mr. Black. Mr. Black takes his rook out. I think now Khatri can threaten some taking idea. Yes, he goes for it, I believe. Not yet, not yet. Now I think Khatri will go for it because he is planning to give some discovery attack to the black player, but no chance for now. The pawn on e4 is hanging in a way because okay, Khatri has some good calculations going around. If the rook moves to f7, the rook remained unprotected on e4, but I don't think Khatri has done some great job in this position. Exchanging two pieces for a queen isn't ideal, but Khatri went for it. I think discovery attack attacking the rook was ideal, but Khatri missed it probably. Now the queen will be taken. Khatri has some leading advantage after the completion of this follow-up. The queen on f8 will be taken immediately as soon as the queen goes to protect their king. It was an immediate checkmate after that, so anyways, resignation was the best move here. Khatri gets the black piece, and now we cannot miss to say that Khatri never misses with black pieces. The bishop comes as fianchetto. We have Nimzowitz, something attack with modern variation. Khatri is developing all of his pieces. Meanwhile, the white player is also developing his pieces, the king side pieces, the queen side pieces, the king side pieces are more or less inactive in this game. Khatri is trying to exchange his pawns with other pawns, trying to break the central chain there, perhaps trying to create more influence in the center. But I don't think marching the pawn towards d4 was ideal because that square is attacked by three white pieces, meanwhile only protected by two pieces there. But a white player perhaps missed that and was not interested in marching towards the central. Now Khatri goes for the pawn exchange. In this position, it seems pretty equal for both of the opponents. However, only deep analytic evaluation graph would show the best status of this position. Talking about the current situation, the queen was attacked. Probably Mr. White missed that, and now the rook is also attacked. Perhaps Khatri will go for a counter attack there. Yes, he does go for attack. Attack followed by attack, attack followed by attack, another attack, another different offense in against of defense. That is the Khatri way currently. Okay, the rook on a8 was taken. Khatri threatens check idea here. Opponent player is clearly winning in terms of time, but Khatri has 4 points of winning advantage here. Khatri is marching ahead in confidence in this game. Khatri has advantage of a queen here. Khatri must go for a piece exchange. Yes, he does go for it. I suppose taking the knight was ideal, but Khatri lost his 4 points worth of advantage here, just limiting it to 2 points. There might be some threats of back rank checkmate here, so Khatri must be aware of the fact that his back rank is all unprotected. The pawn hasn't moved in f7, g7, and at 7 bishop comes for a little uh, hope of protection. Here the rook on f1 has been attacked by Mr. Queen. However, now Khatri must bring his king towards the central square because it is almost the end game. He must capitalize the power of the king here. Khatri tends to do the same, but Khatri is losing his advantage continuously here. He had 4 points worth of advantage, but now it is limited to only 2. However, it has some compensation of 1 point here. Khatri has been asked with a question that if he can move properly in this checking position, else Khatri might encounter a checkmate as well if he missed some good tactic here. Oh my god, Khatri must be cautious of the fact that rook can be really powerful there. The pawn on g6 is now unprotected. Khatri must deal with a check first. Khatri must go for a check first. But I don't think check is also a good idea here. But it will gain some tempo to Mr. Khatri. Okay, now Khatri has some passer pawn there. If Khatri is able to exchange his bishop, okay, chances of en passant, but Khatri was not interested in that. Yes, the bishop is exchanged, which is really beneficial for Mr. Khatri because he has passed a pawn there. Now the pawn cannot be stopped, I believe. If the bishop tries to stop, it will be followed by taking of that bishop. So I think Khatri has a winning advantage, even though he is behind by 2 points here. Now Khatri isn't able to calculate whether he should move his king. Khatri is trying to end this game in a draw because bishop only one bishop usually leads to a draw. So I think Khatri is playing for a draw here. But the pass pawn can be helpful for offering the draw so that you can take the bishop and after that you can offer the draw, Mr. Khatri. So I think pushing the pawn on h5 was useful, but you missed it. Not yet. You have to take your king there first. So only limited squares for Mr. Khatri. I think it will end. Oh, Khatri sadly resigned. Khatri must have an idea that he should have moved his pawn on s-file earlier. In this game, what we see is a Caro-Kann defense followed by advanced variation. We don't see this very often, but we are more than happy to witness this game because it is a chance of learning something new with every new variation that we encounter. Khatri must keep in mind that more than just a game, it is a learning phase for him. So Khatri must be cautious of the fact that um, you should leave the game. Leave by leaving the game, I mean live. Leave. You should not just play and touch the touch the pieces. You should be able to visualize this game in your head as well. Maybe that is a bit of yapping, but I really enjoyed that. Khatri might give some check here, but I don't think giving check is ideal in this position. Khatri's bishop was attacked. Now Khatri anticipates to attack the queen, but I don't think that will be so plausible in this position. Yes, it won't be. A slow-paced game is what we see here. Most uh, there's a threat of bishop being trapped, but not for now. The bishop moves to e4, the powerful square attacking the rook. Now the bishop is wonderfully placed there. I don't think bishop will have to move any sooner, but no sooner had Khatri placed his bishop there, other bishop moved forward attacking the same bishop. That's really unfortunate for Mr. Khatri, but for now the bishop has been attacked. Now bishop must step forward to protect his queen. Meanwhile, the face-off between the light square bishop continues in the central position of this play. The position seems fairly equal, but now Khatri sees a leading advantage in this position. After the queen exchange there, Khatri will be able to take the bishop. Yes, he will be able to take the bishop. Yes, he does take the bishop, and now Khatri has the winning advantage, and Khatri is winning this game if he properly maintains the advantage in this position. Maybe it can be met with a fork if Khatri plays plays tactically. Okay, the pawn on b2 is a real irritation for Mr. Khatri for now. Khatri goes for long castle. Okay, the knight has been attacked, but Khatri doesn't seem to care there. No, Mr. Khatri does care, but the rook on a8 will be vulnerable that way, and Khatri will lose the rook. So Khatri seems. If the rook takes the rook, there would be a fork that Khatri will encounter. Khatri is anticipating resign all of the time. I don't know why. It's just one point worth of disadvantage, and you immediately compensate that. I don't know why Khatri is being hopeless in this game. Khatri can win this game if he is able to withstand the pressure on the pawn and keep up with his knight, or he can manage to get a draw. Knight can be really a danger if it can be met in a work situation. Khatri is marching his pawn ahead. Khatri is now centralizing his queen to in order to attack the king, sorry, the rook, but I don't think Khatri's this particular idea would work. The rook would be a real danger in this endgame because the rook is now protected with the king, the king himself. The, the king has now limited space for Mr. Khatri. He cannot move to d file, he must go to b file, and immediately the pawn on e5 is a real weakness, but white player doesn't seem interested in that. Okay, this must be a draw now because opponent player gave away their rook. This must be a draw. Yes, this is a draw, I must say now. I think this is a draw. Probably I missed a calculation there, but I really thought this is a draw. Oh, white player has still, whatever you say, white player really outplayed Mr. Khatri in this position. Khatri had winning advantage, but Khatri couldn't capitalize on it. Khatri is showing signs of distraction in this game. Probably Khatri has not been playing chess frequently, so he is outplayed by the opponent in this particular game. It would be really interesting if we see a stalemate or draw in this position. It would be funny at the same time if we see that. Khatri is fighting hard for a draw. Most probably it will not be a draw this time, but Khatri is not stopping to hope that it is a draw. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is a draw in fact, because white player doesn't have a good tactic to queen here. Khatri cannot miss this opportunity to end this game in a draw. Khatri must move promptly in order not to lose in time on time. Now, if this end in a stalemate, it would be more than funny. Yes, it is a draw by reputation. Khatri managed to get a draw, but that's really shameful because Khatri had winning advantage in the middle game. Khatri couldn't capitalize in his advantage. Khatri must focus more in this game. I think Khatri is lacking in terms of calculation, in terms of only calculation, I believe. In this Indian game is what we see here. The queen moved out early. I think this is a typical Indian game. Typical Indian game. Khatri has been really wasting his time from initial position. Every time while he plays, he must capitalize his limited time, limited resources, and move promptly. He must believe in his instinctive gameplay, which is fairly good and simple. Here Khatri anticipated to attack the bishop, but that was not what he ended up doing. But now he fulfills his anticipations and attacks the bishop. Most probably we will see bishop knight exchange and f3. Yes, we see that. No, I don't think we saw that. I missed that. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Khatri can take the pawn. Yes, he does because the rook also protects the square. Still, Khatri can continue with his position because he has three protectors against three attackers. Always the protectors win. In this very game, both of the teams have fairly equal position, but Khatri is yet to castle, so does the opponent player, but the double pawn on d5 seems fair weakness for Mr. Khatri. Slim chances of win goes to Mr. Black because he has well developed his pieces. The tension on d4 continues to build because four attackers, only three protectors. So Khatri must and must push his pawn, I believe. Oh, sadly, I didn't notice that. I didn't spotted that the pawn push will be made by bishop attacking the rook. Even if the pawn can take the knight, it won't be so feasible to do that. That isn't an ideal case that Khatri has visualized. Both of the players are yet to castle, but they don't seem interested in this system of castling. Now Khatri anticipates to pin his pin the bishop to the rook, but is that an ideal position? Because it could be made by discovery attack on queen after the bishop moves to f2. The rook can easily take the queen. What Khatri does here is castle, I believe. Khatri is calculating really hard in this position. I don't think he has to overcomplicate this situation. He can play with his guts, and instinctive gameplay is what really offers a dynamic range of variation and gameplay outcomes that we witness over the period of time. Now I think the rook must be moved now in order to take the rook on h8. Oh, the opponent player just castled and almost end game. This is really interesting. This game hasn't been an interesting one. Now Khatri is threatening some taking idea, also a discovery attack perhaps, but Khatri has an escape route planned. Khatri is more than 2 minutes behind the opponent player. This Indian game hasn't been so ideal for Mr. Khatri. Khatri is constantly losing. Khatri doesn't seem to have winning advantage in any point at any point of this game, which is really unfortunate from Khatri's perspective. But now Khatri is trying to create some threats on f7 square by having an eye with the bishop, attacking with the rook. Most probably the other rook will stay forward to protect their own piece, but Khatri might attack, giving a check there, but check doesn't seem of good use in this position. Khatri believes only in Jasibai. Oh, okay, now the opponent player is trying to bring his king to the central position. The bishop has been attacked. Now the pawn will be taken. Khatri attacks the pawn, but pawn again moved forward. I don't think Khatri has even a slim chance of winning in this position, but Khatri is trying hard with 20 seconds remaining. I don't know what Khatri was doing all of this time in this game. Khatri had the 5 minutes like the opponent player had, but Khatri didn't capitalize in his timing. However, it is easy to criticize just looking at the game, but Khatri might have built some pressure within himself that has abstained him from playing a good chess here. Perhaps he is in a pressure of time in this position. Khatri is promptly moving his all of his pieces. So does the black. Black is just trying to get Khatri out of time in this position. Yes, that's the very strategy of Mr. Black. Mr. Black doesn't have a good winning tactic here, so does Mr. Khatri, so they are playing in time. Khatri has less than 2 seconds remaining, more less than 1.5 seconds remaining. Only 1 second. Game was an interesting one, but Khatri lost on time. That's really unfortunate. Sad emoji, sad emoji. Now Khatri wishes to win some game with white pieces. Now Khatri has started missing with black pieces. Once upon a time we used to say that Khatri never misses with black pieces, but this idiom seems very useless in present context, which is really unfortunate. Ladies and gentlemen, Rui Lopez opening followed by Olstein's defense is what we witnessed in the initials of this game. but this game is fairly equal till now. Both of the teams are yet to well develop their all of the pieces, but Khatri has a pinning idea here. He does pin and win isn't so feasible in this position. The knight is yet to be developed. Khatri is retreating his knight from battlefield and putting other knight into the same position. The queen is trying to create some checkmate idea in this position because the pawn on g2 is pinned. The pawn must be moved forward if Khatri wants to abstain from the checkmate. Instead of pawn, Khatri chooses to move away his queen, the king, and get away with the checkmate idea. Now Khatri will most probably try to create some counterplay with this check. Khatri begins his counterplay, but I don't think this check is a much of doesn't have any uh, use. Khatri is unable to centralize his pieces. The pieces are not well coordinated here. The pawn on e4 is a weakness there. Anytime Mr. Black can offer a checkmate threats in this position. Yes, he does offer another checkmate threat in this position, but Khatri has an abstaining idea. Queen exchange is what we see here. Perhaps the queen exchange was ideal just for Mr. Khatri. Mr. Black was attacking with his piece, and exchange isn't an ideal thing to do for attackers. Now Khatri must well calculate every of his piece with the time constraint in mind. Can we see rook exchange in this position? Probably not, because the knight is also protecting on f3 square. The black knight, on the other hand, is trying to maneuver through the one corner of the board to other corner here, but it will be immediately kicked away by Mr. White. However, the square of h4 is pretty safe for Mr. Knight to stay on because it is well protected by the rook. Khatri is trying to play some idea of taking the pawn on e5 followed by taking the bishop. I don't know if Mr. White will spot that or not, but Khatri goes for it, maybe in a desperation. Khatri has 1 point of advantage, which will be immediately compensated when Mr. Black will take the pawn on f3 there, followed by knight. Now we have two attackers, three defenders on f3. Wait a minute. Oh, 20, more than 23 points of tension on f3 square wanders around there. The threats on Mr. Khatri hasn't been completely avoided, but Khatri is doing good in this position because there's no immediate checkmate idea. The pawn on e4 remains unprotected, but Khatri's opponent doesn't seem interested in taking that. But that is a pin and win idea for Mr. Khatri, and he does win that rook after this exchange. It will be made by knight check, but the opponent resigned, and Khatri might take this game as a boost, as an boost towards his way of glory and continuously winning every game. I am not so familiar with the Reti opening, but Khatri might be familiar with this opening. Khatri has studied some of the opening theory, but I don't know if this is one of them. Khatri, both of the teams are trying to capture the central square, the vital diagonal. The bishop exchange is what Mr. Black offered here, but Khatri doesn't seem to immediately dive in for that offer. In this way, Khatri has developed all of his pieces, but Mr. Black lagged behind in terms of development, but he has created a pawn fortress in the queen side of this chessboard. A little break. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after the quick break, I have come to know that Khatri is doing really good in this position. He has well placed knight there. The pawn chain on the center seems pretty strong. Khatri must must win this game in order to keep up with his morale. Khatri is restricting squares for his bishop. The knight on g4 is invading towards the Khatri's position. For now, the knight has been kicked away. Mr. Khatri is trying to calculate his move to play for a better attack on Mr. Black. Mr. Black is yet to castle. The knight on uh, f6 is a little bit of weakness, but Khatri ignores that. Again, the knight is trying to invade into Khatri's territory. I don't know if Khatri is happy with that or not, but most probably Khatri isn't. Khatri goes for a counter attack, attacking the queen. This is a real complex situation to interpret because every piece has some tensions on this board. Only one piece has been taken, that is the bishop, the dark square bishop, and I must say this position is really complex. Khatri is trying to simplify this by exchange offers, but yet Khatri hasn't been quite successful in simplification of this position. The complexity of this game even worsen here. The pawn chain on center, the queen side is a real threat to both of the teams. Khatri takes the queen, but at what cost? Does Khatri have the good position here? With the advantage of queen, can Khatri capitalize in this game? Khatri must win this. I think this is the last game, Mr. Khatri. Khatri must win after this level of advantage. Now Khatri is marching ahead with his rook in order to completely mark his victory in this game. After this check, Khatri will be able to uh, take his other rook into the action. The other rook is yet to be taken into the action, but Khatri is clearly winning this game. Khatri can actually give away his queen for a rook. Okay, this is a checkmate now. But Khatri has less than 20 seconds remaining and Khatri hasn't found the winning tactic yet. Can Khatri win in 14 seconds remaining? 14 seconds against 3 minutes. That's a quite bit of disadvantage, but Khatri wins at the last. And that was it for today. It was really fun. Khatri had some bad starting position, but later Khatri cope up with this, and I think it is a happy ending for us in this stream.